Before the season started, WNBA GM selected Paige Beckers as a player they would most like to start a franchise with. What's your reaction to that?
Well, all those GMs probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark, who is the player who has made, never in the history of the WNBA have we had a player force teams to get into larger arenas. I've never seen that happen. And so if you're the GM, you're obviously supposed to be bringing in money. That's revenue.
Right.
I'm going with Caitlin Clark.
What's up, Fever Nation? You just heard from Lisa Leslie, WNBA Hall of Famer, who is torching GMs for saying Paige Beckers was the most likely person in the WNBA they would start a team with. And she said any GM who thought that should be fired. It is the obvious choice, but this is the League of Women's choice of who they want to replace Caitlin Clark. Now, do you see what's going on here? Before I get into this other part of the video, do you see what's going on in the W? They want to replace Caitlin Clark with Paige Beckers. Now, come on now. Is that not obvious, Fever Nation? Is that not obvious, people that are watching this video? It's so obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to replace Caitlin Clark with their brand of the WNBA type player that they like, that the people on the floor like, not the people in the stands pay to see. The people with uniforms and running around with titles in organizations. This is how warped minded these people in these organizations are. It's about making money. You're trying to make revenue, something the WNBA has absolutely no clue whatsoever of what it is to make revenues each season. And they have the audacity and unmitigated gall to talk about pay us what you owe us. Well, Fever Nation, in an unprecedented move by our front office, the dynamic duo of Kelly Cross-Cop and Amber Cox, they have went out and signed an injured player to a developmental contract. That's right, Fever Nation, you heard me correctly. They have went out and signed another injured player. The first one was Tyesha Harris, who looked good, pretty good, in my opinion. Looked better than I thought. Definitely better than the first game. Definitely better than the first game. But they went out and topped that act with signing another player who is injured. Allegedly, she's suffering from plantar fasciitis. Well, let's read this article together, Fever Nation, to try to make sense of nonsense. The Indiana Fever are signing Bree Hall to a development contract. Sources told Indy Star on Monday morning. Hall was the Fever's second-round draft pick out of South Carolina. Keep that in mind, Fever Nation. Monday morning. That's when they made this signing. Monday morning. I'm gonna tie this all together as we get toward the end. Hall was the Fever's second-round draft pick out of South Carolina in 2025, last season. Second-round draft pick. She was waived after training camp, then signed multiple hardship contracts with the Valkyries throughout the 2025 season. The Fever eventually brought her back on a hardship contract following Chloe Bibby's injury, allegedly, in September of 2025. Development contracts, which are new for the 2026 WNBA season as part of the new collective bargaining agreement, are designated for players with 0 to 3 years of service. Hall's 4 appearances in regular season games came on hardship contract. Let me read that again, Fever Nation, because I know that might have went over some of y'all's head. Hall's 4 appearances in regular season games came on hardship contracts. She played 3 games with the Golden State Valkyries and 1 with the Fever in the regular season last year, then had 4 appearances with Indiana in the playoffs. Yeah, Fever Nation, this front office takes the cake. Fever Nation. You making sense of nonsense, that's my job. I'm going to tie this all together because as chaotic as it looks, this is what I'm going to share with you what I think they're doing behind the scenes. Let's continue, Fever Nation, because it gets better. It gets better. This article or this tweet is, or this X tweet is from Tony East. And I guess on the Fan, 107.5, the Fan, Amber Cox was a guest, or at least for the moment. And here's what she had to say. Fever GM Amber Cox on Fever Weekly, 107.5, the Fan, on the signing of Bree Hall. We think a lot of Breezy. You didn't think that much of it. You didn't to keep on the roster. We loved her progress. She really had a great plan going into the offseason just in terms of what she wanted to do to get better. Really took our feedback to heart, whatever that means, Fever Nation, whatever that means. Cox added that Hall has been dealing with a bit of plantar fasciitis. It was a bit of a timing thing to get her back in here a little bit later than training camp. We're just excited about her potential, a long wing that can really get out and defend. Remember, I did another video, Fever, talking about how they're trying to build this 2012 roster again based on defense. The only problem with that is, how are you going to spread the floor on the other end when you transition to the offense, whether it's a turnover or a made basket by the other team? How do you transition? Can these players spread the floor on the other end of the floor? Because when you're playing with a superstar like Cece, who's, in her words, and I agree with her wholeheartedly, one of the best transition players in the game right now. That's without a doubt. That's without a doubt. You got to have a basketball IQ when you're running CC's type of offense. Now, we know Stephanie's offense doesn't take a lot of brainstorming, okay? Just pick here, screen here, move, hope somebody will see you when you open and get the ball to you. CC is, look, they forcing teams out of their structured defense, out of their standard defense into chaos. Pick a hard screen here, drive around, create a mismatch. The defense is out of flux. They're just trying to run from person to person to close out before someone gets an open look. So now, Fever Nation, how do we tie all this together? Let's go back to the article. The Indiana Fever are signing Bree Hall to a development contract, sources told Indy Star on Monday morning. Now, this was the Monday after the Wings game. If you all watched that game, the rookie struggled a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people want to pump sunshine and try to go with the princess treatment, but these are professionals now. She's getting paid an exorbitant amount of cash. She's in the top 5 to 1% of earners. So you're going to have to take some criticism now that you're in the pros making this kind of money. This is the kind of money y'all wanted to make. So you know what come with that? Accountability. People are going to tell you when you're playing bad, and people are going to praise you when you're playing good. That's normally how it works. So now, this was the Monday after the Wings game. The Monday after the Wings game. I don't know what it was like for her in the locker room. I don't know how she manages when things aren't going well. I don't know what type of person she becomes when things aren't going well. Remember that podcast she was on where she was talking about what her adversity for her was when Caitlin just waved her hand at her during the Final Four. Yeah, Fever Nation, that was adversity. A player to wave her off. And you know what? 10-1, Caitlin didn't even think about what she did. She just realized the game plan was to leave her open because she doesn't shoot. And she does that right now in the pros. Dawn Staley, when she was playing guard for that team for 4 years, was to get the ball across half court and pass it to the first person that is open. That was the setup. She wasn't a playmaker like Caitlin Clark, which this team is trying to make this young lady. That's ridiculous. And Stephanie and Amber talking about her playing a combo guard or point guard is absolutely maniacal. How are you going to make this young lady into a point guard when that's not what she played at South Carolina? Now you say, well, what did she play? She played point guard. Raven Johnson is not your typical point guard. A point guard that is afraid to shoot is not a point guard. You have to be able to knock down a shot. See, what people don't realize, she had so much talent with her, around her, you didn't notice all of the shortcomings about her game. Now that she's in the pros and everybody is pretty much good, everybody is exploited. You're going to have game on both ends of the floor. Now, we know they drafted her for defensive purposes, but the issue is when she gets on the other end. Does she know how to get the team and set up their offense? Does she know how to penetrate and kick without going into no man's land and getting stuck and trying to make something out of nothing? Now, she had one good play against the Sparks where she drove to the what do they call that? Drove to the top of the key. That's not the term I want to use, but drove to the top of the key by the free throw, stopped, got stuck, and then Billings cut to the lane, and she dished it to Billings on a layup going to the basket. Great play. And then on another play, right after that one, or not necessarily right after it, she went from the corner to the top of the key, got a handoff, kicked it, got the ball back, was wide open for a look, and she passed it off to Kelsey Mitchell. Teams are going to see that you're afraid to shoot, Raven, until you start getting more comfortable with shooting in the league when you're open, because teams are going to leave you open. I was listening during the Sparks, or was it the Sparks game? Every team scouting report says leave Dantas open. Don't double off. Let her shoot those threes. And remember, like I've been saying since last season, those of you who've been watching my videos, if Dantas is not hitting threes, she's a liability. She does not play great defense, if at all. Okay, so if she's not knocking down threes, she's not trading points, then we're losing that matchup, because now her person, whoever she's holding, is going to be running up the numbers. And the only way Dantas can offset that is by scoring. Now, Bree Hall, what are the common denominators in the two injured players that they signed? South Carolina. Why you would want to sign injured players, I have no idea, but that's our dynamic duo of Kelly and Amber. But I happen to think that they're here for Gamecock on-site support staff for Raven Johnson. That's just my opinion, because they're here to help her through the bumps and the peaks and valleys of her rookie season. They're going to try to teach her things maybe after practice that they don't have time to work with her in practice. This is just my take. I don't know if this is actually happening or not. This is just my perspective from observation, because the young lady strikes me as someone who needs support. So you have Boston, Hall, and now Harris. All these Gamecocks. If I'm not mistaken, these are people Raven played with. No, maybe with the exception of Harris. I take that back. Maybe with the exception of Harris. But the other two, they were teammates of Raven. So they're there. In my opinion, Stephanie has brought these young, because remember, they're on a developmental contract. So you can only play 12 games on a developmental contract. Now, I'm not going to get into that, but Stephanie White, Amber, and Kelly, you all really need to do some soul searching and try to determine what are y'all there for, because you're certainly not trying to make the Fever any money. GM, Amber Cox, where are the revenues? Y'all can't ride CC forever. You all are going to have to bring in the people to put around CC that will make this team better. Bringing in injured players, how is that making it better? On one hand, but we know behind the scenes, there's support staff for Raven Johnson to help her get through her rookie season. And we'll see what happens after this. Now, I don't have anything against Raven Johnson, but isn't it amazing? Isn't it wonderful to have a GM and Kelly Croscott and a head coach who will go out of their way to bring in players from your school, from your university to come in and help you during your rookie season. It's wonderful being an Indiana Fever when you have Kelly Croscott and Amber Cox and Stephanie White backing you up wholeheartedly. It must be wonderful. Well, that's all I have for you now, Fever Nation. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. You all have a blessed day. I'm out.
Before the season started, WNBA GM selected Paige Beckers as a player they would most like to start a franchise with. What's your reaction to that?
Well, all those GMs probably going to get fired because this is a money business, and the money is about Caitlin Clark, who is the player who has made, never in the history of the WNBA have we had a player force teams to get into larger arenas. I've never seen that happen. And so if you're the GM, you're obviously supposed to be bringing in money. That's revenue.
Right.
I'm going with Caitlin Clark.